Well, the Cleveland Browns played the Washington Redskins yesterday, 124-10, I think it was. Hold on. But the amazing thing about it, in the first half, the Browns' offense was lethargic. They knew exactly what we were doing because Stefanski's a clueless dumbass. Well, input DeShaun Watson in the second half. He took things over. Had 3 TD passes. It was 3-3 at halftime, I believe, and after that, whatever the score is, 24-10. But here's what I wanted to say. You've seen how the Cleveland Browns took over that game in the second half, something we never do, unless we're playing the Bengals. We never do that. That's because they went away from the analytic approach that they did in the first half, and they went to a way to win the game like they used to. You see, we could have been winning games this year that we lost. The Jets game was a fluke loss, but the Chargers game, there's so many games this year we lost. The Baltimore Ravens first game, the Falcons game. I mean, there's like 5 games we lost because rather than win the game the way they know how they could have won the game, they wanted to win it their way analytically. And what happens when you do that is they wanted to just throw the ball at inopportune times, play the analytics, look like geniuses if it works. If it doesn't work, well, they can say, well, we played the analytics. So they have an immediate out. If it doesn't work, we played the analytics. They got an immediate out. But if it works, they're geniuses. They tried winning games their way, the analytic way. And in the process of this experiment that they conducted, they forfeited the Cleveland Browns season. Those players know that. Yesterday was a perfect example. If they would have continued the analytic way that they usually do, we would have lost the game. There's no doubt. But they actually called running plays yesterday, which they never do in the second half of other games. They just throw the ball out of the yard. They actually played the game of football like it's meant to be played. Where we didn't do that against the Chargers. We didn't do that against the Patriots. We didn't do that against the Bills. We didn't do that against the Falcons. We just didn't do smart football. So if you look at the Cleveland Browns, we could have won so many more games if they would have just played like they wanted to and not tried to win like they want to. They want to win this analytical way so they can look like, so Coach Depot Desta can look like a fucking genius. If he coaches like Stefanski did his first year, we're like 12-3 right now. And that is a sad fact. And that's what pisses me off. We all understand analytics, but they're trying to win every game that way. And it's not feasible. When you could win games the correct way like they used to. And he sacrificed our season because Jacoby Brissett played good enough in the first 11 games that we could have been 8-3 easily. And obviously DeShaun Watson was going to be a little rusty, but Stefanski's offense does him no justice at all. DeShaun Watson's a creator. He can run, he can throw. The difference between him and Lamar Jackson is immeasurable because he can actually throw a football accurately and throw it down the field. Just unbelievable. Lamar Jackson can make 3 throws on the field. So we have a quarterback now. And I want Stefanski fired. I want Depot Desta fired. But I will say this. If you get rid of Depot Desta, because something has to change next year. Well, look, that game yesterday, if we go into Pittsburgh the same way we did in the first half, it's not going to work out. We have to play the Pittsburgh game like a regular football coach would coach it, and we'll win that game. But Depot Desta blew our season with this analytical experiment. And I know you puppets don't want to agree with this, the analytical nerds that say, no, it's the truth. You know it is. We could have won so many games this year if we would have just played football, coached football, instead of trying to win our way. Winning was secondary to the Cleveland Browns in this regime. They want to win their way, and their way only. That's the bottom line. And that changed yesterday at halftime because DeShaun Watson said, no, we're not doing it your way no more. We're doing it my way. We're going to run the ball. He took over that team yesterday. DeShaun Watson took over the Cleveland Browns yesterday, and the analytical department went out the door. And I have a pretty strong feeling that the analytical department is going to be gone after this year. I mean, it'll still be there, but Depot Desta will be gone. And here's another thing. You guys don't understand this. The Cleveland Browns use analytics to draft players, to fill their needs. Look at their defensive tackles. They're 270 pounds. They're 10 pounds lighter than me. Look at their linebackers. They're 220 pounds. They thought, well, it's going to be a passing league. We're going to get ahead of the curve, get all these fast players. Well, why the fuck would you have light defensive tackles? What purpose do they serve in the passing game? I mean, these guys are fucking idiots when you think about it. But their linebackers are so light. We got some heavy ones now because, what's his name? Tony Franklin or Tony Fields and Reggie Rutland, I believe. But those guys are making plays. Tony Franklin, if you think about it, looks like the best player on the team defensively. When you think about it, you know why? Because he's a big, normal-sized linebacker. These other light linebackers ain't getting the job done. So they used that to draft, not Njoku, but the linebacker. JOK, He's a safety. He's not a linebacker. He's got he needs at least 20 more pounds on his body, 30 more pounds, whatever. That's why he's useless this year. But yeah, they tried the 270-pound defensive tackles. They just don't get it done. The 220-pound linebackers, no, you're not stopping the run. So they tried doing everything their way so they could look like geniuses. They didn't realize that the running game's never going to be a banned in the NFL. If the Cleveland Browns didn't have Paul DePodesta this year and just had Kevin Stefanski, we'd be 12-3, 11-4 right now. As bad as Stefanski is, we'd be that. I believe he was not heavily influenced, completely influenced by DePodesta, because Stefanski was never this bad of a coach. And believe me, if I could start over next year and get a new coach, I want to. But my main thing is we got to get Depot out of there, because I do believe Stefanski, with Watson's input now, because Watson's running that team, I believe Watson could make Stefanski a viable NFL coach. I do believe that, because Watson knows what works in this game. But you have to get rid of DePodesta. His philosophy for building a team is absolutely atrocious. And the 6'D chess player, Andrew Berry, he's trash. Keep him for salary cap purposes. Bring a GM in that knows football players, because we have to know how to evaluate talent in football. These guys don't. But DeShaun Watson, the guy's a stud. And he's not a top 5 quarterback. He's the best quarterback in football. And you can't do a damn thing about it. It's just the truth. You've seen it yesterday. First half, he was hindered by Stefanski. Second half, he comes out there and just does what he wants and dominates. With one receiver, too, by the way. David Njoku couldn't catch a cold right now. He couldn't catch COVID. So, and they signed him to all this big money. I like Njoku, but you got to be more dependable. Donovan Peoples-Jones, too, you got to be more dependable. I like Peoples-Jones, but he didn't have a good game yesterday. So anyway, the Cleveland Browns, when DeShaun Watson's calling the show, they're the best team in football. Ain't no one beating them. And that's an honest God truth. Paul DePodesta cost us a season. He did. The analytics and Paul DePodesta cost us a season. Without DePodesta, we'd be 12-3, 11-4 right now at worst. Maybe I'll put this on Getter, because you can upload longer videos on Getter, which I do love.